Welcome back to Gold and Blue, everybody, and if you are a college football fan, a die-hard college football fan, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. That's all we do here, videos of college football every single day. And don't forget, now you can send me stuff. Finally got a P.O. box. Send gear to represent your team on my back wall every single video and live show. Here's the address you send it to, P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina, 29657. Another busy day for me, so I'm going to have to do a video in the car. I try to limit them, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So, car video coming at you, and, you know, I understand trash talk and trying to get under people's skin. I understand all that. It's part of the game, but saying that Dana Holgerson is a better head coach than Neal Brown, come on. That's just ignorant. I'm sorry, that's just flat out ignorant. There is absolutely zero facts to back that up. But the one thing that they use is 12-2. Houston went 12-2, so that makes Dana Holgerson a better coach than Neal Brown because Neal Brown went 6-6. It doesn't add up. If you want to compare Dana Holgerson to Neal Brown, you gotta go fact by fact, not just one random year versus one random year at two different schools. And I know it's the same year, but it's two different schools. We have direct comparisons. Dana Holgerson did coach at West Virginia, and Neal Brown is coaching at West Virginia. So we do have direct comparisons. So this should be an easy discussion. But no, y'all want to muddy it up and turn it into something that it's not. So here we go. Let's have this discussion. All right. So we'll start off with the total record after 3 years because that's how long Neal Brown has been here. All right. So total record for Neal Brown, 17-18. Not great. Under 500. For Dana Holgerson, it was 21-17. Okay, so he was over 500. But the biggest deal about that is he greatly benefited from that first team. He had NFL talent all over the field. I mean, he had Geno Smith. And I know Geno Smith turned out to be a bust in the NFL, but he was a great college quarterback. Tavon freaking Austin, Stedman Bailey, Bruce Irvin. I mean, this team was absolutely stacked. And Dana Holgerson goes 10-3. Yes, we all remember the Orange Bowl beatdown over Clemson, but that should have happened. West Virginia should have been in the discussion of the playoffs that year. But no, he goes out and loses some games that he should not have lost. Especially that road trip to Syracuse, that was a bad loss. I can forgive the home loss against LSU. LSU was a really good team that year. They went to the national championship, so I can forgive that loss. But the road loss to Syracuse, no, that's absolutely stupid. Absolutely stupid. The biggest problem with Dana Holgerson is he couldn't win a big game. That's how this whole never beating Oklahoma since we joined the Big 12 started. Dana Holgerson he didn't know how to beat Oklahoma. All right, so let's fast forward to year 3. Last year, this is where people really get on to Neal Brown. Oh, went 6-6. Looks like West Virginia's going backwards. All right, so let's go back to the Dana Holgerson argument. All right, year 3 for Dana Holgerson was 2013. West Virginia went 4-8, including a loss to Kansas. Not just a loss, a blowout loss. I'm not talking about like last year when Texas went into overtime and lost to Kansas at home. No, we go on the road and get absolutely blasted by a bad Kansas team. So Neal Brown, yes, he went 6-6, but it got to a bowl, didn't get beat by Kansas. I'm still not seeing where your argument is as far as Dana Holgerson being a better coach than Neal Brown. And listen, let me get one thing straight. Dana Holgerson is a great offensive guru. I mean, there is no doubt about that. I am not disputing that at all. But a head coach? No. Not a good head coach. All right, so what was his best year at West Virginia? Well, it was either that first year, 2011, when they went 10-3, blasted Clemson in the Orange Bowl. That was probably his best year, but those weren't his players. So what was his best year with his players? That would be 2016, a full 6 years later. They went 10-3. Okay, that's not bad. But 0 wins over ranked teams. Got blasted at home by number 8 Oklahoma 56-28. Got blasted on the road by Oklahoma State 37-20. And got blasted in the bowl game versus Miami 31-14. Best year with his players. That's not good. That's not. Oh, you're talking about West Virginia. The standards aren't that high. Look at West Virginia the 20, 30 years before Dana Holgerson. Our standards are higher than that. I'm sorry. People have gotten used to this mediocre, maybe having a decent season every once in a while. West Virginia used to be a really, really good team. We've had a couple of undefeated seasons since I've been born. Been to the national championship, had 2 other shots of getting to or winning a national championship besides that. I'm talking about 88, 93, and 07. So we've been pretty successful. Multiple double-digit win seasons. A lot of conference championships in the Big East, including whenever it was really good with Virginia Tech, Miami, Boston College, Syracuse, Louisville, all those good teams in there. We had some Big East championships whenever the Big East was really good. So West Virginia used to have high standards. But Dana Holgerson has lowered those expectations. This is the whole reason why people talk bad about West Virginia. It's because of Dana Holgerson. So not only is Dana Holgerson not a better head coach than Neal Brown, but he's the reason why people look down on West Virginia now. People forget about the blasting that we did to Clemson in the Orange Bowl. People forget about the Sugar Bowl where we beat Georgia and we had no business beating them. And then, of course, 07 should have gotten to the national championship and won that, but we had to settle for a beatdown on Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. And, of course, 88 national championship, lost to Notre Dame. 93 went undefeated, lost in the Sugar Bowl to Florida. And a lot of great moments in between. People were not looking down like they are on us right now because of Dana Holgerson. Dana Holgerson set our program back 10 years. No, he is not a better head coach than Neal Brown. Okay, so you want to use the 12-2 excuse, all right? Let's look into that 12-2. Here are his wins that he had at Houston last year. At Rice, FCS Grambling State, Navy, at Tulsa, at Tulane, East Carolina, SMU, at UCF, at Temple, Memphis, that's decent, and then at UConn. The 2 decent teams that he played, he lost to. Cincinnati got blasted in the AAC championship game, 35-20. Texas freaking Tech, 38-21, got blasted. And then, of course, you did beat Auburn in that whatever bowl it was. Barely. It was like 70-13 or 17-14, something like that. I don't know. Auburn barely made it to a bowl. Auburn got beat by South Carolina last year. So that's not bragging rights either. So be specific with your arguments. Why do you think Dana Holgerson is a better head coach than Neal Brown? Because I've given you all the reasons in the world why he's not a better head coach than Neal Brown. Now, here's what I will say. If West Virginia doesn't go at least 8-4, it's time to start thinking about moving on from Neal Brown. And maybe the answer is already in-house with Graham Harrell. So maybe that's a decent backup plan right there, depending on what the offense looks like this year. But West Virginia has to go at minimum 8-4. I have them going 9-3 with a chance of going 10-2 if they don't slip up at Texas Tech. But yeah, they have to go at least 8-4. And part of that recipe is going on the road and beating Pitt, where yours truly is going to be there. If we lose to Pitt, you talk about an angry video. It's going to be one of my most angriest videos that I've ever put out. I'm going to be super angry. It might be time to start thinking about moving on from Neal Brown. Of course, we will have to see what the rest of the season looks like. But I think winning on the road to Pitt is very important, very pivotal on going at least 8-4. This might be a make or break game, not just because it's our rival and we need to beat Pitt and make it 4 in a row, but our entire season could hinge on this one game. So we have to win this game. I am not going to be very happy at all if West Virginia goes on the road and drops the ball against Pitt. I think West Virginia and Pitt has about the same type of defense, same caliber, very, very good. Probably going to be a top 30 defenses this year. But the offense is where the biggest difference is going to be. West Virginia is going to have a much better offense. We finally have a real offensive coordinator, a good offensive coordinator. JT Daniels, a transfer from Georgia. Just go look at his highlights. This guy is a field general. The same Georgia fans that were mad that Kirby Smart didn't put JT Daniels back in whenever he healed over Stetson Bennett are now saying that JT Daniels is just an average quarterback now that he's the starter at West Virginia. Yeah, Golden Blue Dude remembers things. I remember when y'all got upset about that. But you know what? It didn't matter because y'all had that historic defense. And I told y'all, I predicted Georgia to win the national championship because of that defense. But you were mad that the best quarterback available wasn't put in as the starter when he was healed up. So I remember that. So our offense is going to be much better. And yes, they'll have Keaton Slovis, and he's very athletic and has a good arm. but he doesn't have the mentality of JT Daniels. The biggest difference between JT Daniels and Keenan Slovis is you get JT Daniels, the same JT Daniels, no matter what. No matter if he throws a touchdown, he doesn't get too high. No matter if he throws an interception, he doesn't get too low. The next play is always the same JT Daniels ready to go out there and make a big play. West Virginia is going to go from averaging around 25 points per game to averaging between 35 and 40 points per game. And with that defense, there is no doubt we should go at least 8-4. And that's why I'm predicting 9-3. So no, I am standing on this rock. Dana Holgerson is not a better head coach than Neal Brown, but if by the end of this year, West Virginia is not 8-3 or better, then we might have to revisit this argument. Not necessarily that Dana Holgerson is a better coach, but it might be time for Neal Brown to move on, because there's only so much time and effort and depression that a fan base can take as far as rebuilding a program. And I understand he was left with 0, but come on, this is year 4. This is time to take that next step. Remember what Bobby Bowden says, whenever you take over a program, a bad program, there's 4 steps. Step 1, you're losing big. Step 2, you're losing close. Step 3, you start winning close. And step 4, you start winning big and winning championships. Well, now it's time to take the step from step 2 to step 3. Let's start winning these close games. And we will most definitely have the offense to do that. So there you go. My reasons why Dana Holgerson is not a better coach than Neal Brown. And maybe Neal Brown is not the future of West Virginia, but he's still a better coach than Dana Holgerson. Dana Holgerson is not a very good coach. I'm sorry, he's just not. And Houston fans will figure that out whenever Houston makes the jump to the Big 12. You're not going to be playing these Rices, Navies, Tulsas, Tulanes, East Carolinas, SMU, USFs, Temple, Memphis, UConns. You're going to be playing Oklahoma's, Oklahoma State, well, for a little bit. Oklahoma and Texas are going to be gone. Texas Tech, Baylor, TCU, Iowa State, BYU, even UCF. You avoided UCF last year in the regular season. So that's another thing that you can't say. You didn't beat a good UCF last year. And Cincinnati, you're going to have to play Cincinnati again. And we saw what happened this past year under a great Dana Holgerson team. It got blasted by Cincinnati. So y'all let me know in the comments section, what are your arguments for Dana Holgerson being a better head coach than Neal Brown? If you still think that, I want to know what your arguments are. And let me know what you think West Virginia's final season record is going to be for 2022. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.